What is your biggest, best bust?
Ooh, man. Um, I I had a really unique one, and I wouldn't say it would be the biggest, but it's probably the one that I'm most proud of because I actually was able to work it, even though I was the supervisor for the unit. But so a little bit of context: I've been on our SWAT team now. We have a regional team, part-time team, but I've been on that team for 18 years. And the reason why I'm sharing that is it goes into how I knew a crook that ended up being in our jail from a SWAT call out that we had served on his house. That was a task force related case when I was on patrol, and it was a pretty memorable one because we were doing a flashbang on a essentially on a bank pole. So for those of you guys that don't understand that, it's basically a flashbang that's at the end of a pole, and the pin that you pull is integrated into it. So we had we had intel that this guy was armed. He had guns in his room, and we wanted to get into that room and get control of him before he had access to his guns. So one of the tactics that we used was his room was right next to the front door, and we integrated the bang pole through the window. And basically, as that went off, we made our entry into the front door and was able to get into the room and get him in custody. And the reason why this one was memorable was we debriefed him afterwards, and he heard the knock and announce. He said he woke up and he looked, and he said he thought while he was coming out of his stupor that it was a microphone that was coming in on like a boom
Like a
mic
boom
that
mic.
was coming in through the window. And so he was staring right at it when the flash went off. And when I was one of the first couple guys into the room, and he was totally dazed, like you couldn't have worked any better. And we were able to get him into custody. And then he had a couple firearms in his closet that were there. So the intel was right. And at that time, he was a pretty big drug dealer, and he went to prison. Well, fast forward, now I'm the unit supervisor in our drug task force, and see that this guy gets picked up in our local casino, and he's arrested on I think like a probation violation warrant for DOC. But when they arrest him, he's got meth on him. So no one else in our drug task force had heard of this guy or was familiar with him. But as most drug dealers do, they don't quit after getting popped. They continue to go back to what they know how to do, and that's dealing dope. So I start listening to his jail phone calls, and I start
Nice.
recognizing, I start identifying people that he's talking to. And he's basically talking to two main people: his girlfriend and a guy that's dealing dope for him while he is while he's in jail, running out his DOC time for his probation violation. So they are talking in code about where the dope's stored, how much they have, who the players are that this guy's dealing to. Well, through good. Uh,
Is that what we're talking about? The bang pole?
yep, that's a bang pole right there.
All
Yep,
right. So for
yep,
those listening, I just popped the picture up. I looked it up real quick, but
yep.
just wanted to kind of give you a visual of what he was
Yeah,
referring
kind
to.
of looks like a boom mic, but yeah, it's got
Yeah,
like where the mic would be the flashbang tied onto the end there.
that's awesome.
So, um, so I start basically identifying this guy's whole network of who he's supplying to, the guy that's dealing drugs for him, and identify his girlfriend. And then we start setting up surveillance on this guy and the guy's girlfriend, identify them, start seeing them do hand to hands, and eventually get enough to do a search warrant on his main courier that's doing all his work for him while he's in jail. Roll that guy, and then end up getting his girlfriend with a bunch of dope. And while all this is going on, they're continuing to talk in code, but I've already figured out kind of what they're referring to and what and essentially I'm able to write numerous search warrants, and able to seize all this guy's cash because he starts
Ooh.
talking about where his cash is and wanting it moved around and taking it to his cousin's house. And so I'm supposed to identify him. But the reason I thought it was pretty unique case and pretty cool that I'm proud of is this guy sunk his own ship. It was all his own mouth that he couldn't keep shut over recorded jail phone lines.
Which they
That
know it's recorded.
right, it tells you like this is being audio and video record, or, what, because now
Yeah.
we have video calls too, but audio recorded at the time. And so I was essentially able to seize, it was like over $20,000, pounds of meth, pounds of heroin,
Okay,
all
that's what I was gonna ask. What type of
yeah,
dope was it? Okay.
yeah. So this guy was a meth and heroin dealer, and this guy was unique in that he was 100% in it for the profit. He did not use
Didn't
dope.
use. Okay.
Nope. His girlfriend used, but he did not use dope. And he had a bunch of assets that we were able to get to and tie him all up. And then I took his case and presented it to our AUSA, which for those of you guys that don't know, that's our federal prosecutor. So they took the case federal, which the good thing about federal time is you don't get good time. And so if you're sentenced to 5 years, you're getting 5 years.